Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Philly Sports Power Hour with Bill Colarulo. The reality is still setting in that we're getting close to the end of this Philadelphia Eagles season. And unfortunately, it's probably going to wrap up a lot sooner than all of us thought it would. And it's been a tough couple of days, man, reflecting on that Arizona Cardinals game, because really, it was something we all saw coming that we didn't want to admit. And now, after being embarrassed on New Year's Eve by the Arizona Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon, I think reality is setting in for all of us. But, hey, this is the Philly Sports Power Hour. So we not only have the Eagles to talk about, which are depressing, we're going to talk about some other teams in Philadelphia that maybe can get us a little bit excited. So I see some of my Power Hour crew checking in. I saw some of you guys yesterday on the Legal Hands to the Face show last night, so I appreciate all of you. We are also live on TikTok as well, so what's up to the TikTok crew? But let's get a little roll call in the chat. We're going to be joined later today by Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, and you guys know Spadaro, being an Eagles insider, always tries to keep things positive. So I'm really curious to see what the hell Spadaro is going to say about this Eagles team right now, where it looks like everything is falling apart. And if you guys are watching on TikTok, if you want to see Dave Spadaro at 10:30, you'll have to jump on over to YouTube to the JAKIB Sports Network, JAKIB. I can't bring a guest onto the TikTok yet. They're not, TikTok hasn't connected with StreamYard yet, like every other platform has. But let's get a little roll call from my Power Hour crew. I see Wine Niners Wine in the house. Nina Alston, Happy New Year. Twiz, Bobby Murphy, Jason A-Team, MC, Steve Ike, Ringo Island, Decoy Gaming, William Stark, Big D, Bobby Murphy, V, WCBJJ. We got the whole crew in the house today. Flexin' and steppin', Marcus Craig, love it. Loving my Power Hour crew. Nathan Hoffman. Good to see all of you guys. I hope everyone had a great New Year with the family. I know it was hard after watching that Eagles game, but let's put it into perspective. At least we're healthy, happy, got to spend some time with family. But before we talk a little bit more about this Philadelphia Eagles team, let's talk about some other teams we can get excited about in this city. And the first one, let's talk about the Sixers a little bit, because they are back in action tonight against the Chicago Bulls following a 2-2 road trip. Joel Embiid missed the road trip with a sprained right ankle. He may be coming back tonight. Sixers are 2-5 this season without Joel, who before this ankle injury was playing absolutely lights out for your Sixers. So they're back in action tonight against the Bulls. Hopefully Joel can go in that game. Nice little rematch. They just played them the other night on December 30th and lost 105-92 without Embiid. But hopefully they can get back in the winning column tonight if Joel can go. But we've talked about this Sixers team before. We're going to have Kayla Santiago again on the show tomorrow. Our Sixers insider, Kayla, does a great job covering the Sixers. But we've talked about it. They're a fun team to watch. So if you guys like basketball, this is a fun team to watch. They have a lot of depth. They're well coached. And I see people on TikTok saying they're not excited about the Sixers. Tune in Tune in. They got a fun brand of basketball they're playing. And I've said it before on the show, what I love most about this Sixers team is there's no one on the team that I dislike. There's no one that I have a hard time getting behind. You don't have the selfish players, the me guys like James Harden or Ben Simmons. You got a good team, a well-coached team. Tyrese Maxey, fun to watch this kid growing into a superstar. Joel Embiid, the things he's doing on the court, you haven't seen before in the NBA, or at least not since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the type of things that this guy's doing. So tune into the Sixers. And you have a coach that not only is coaching these guys up, but doesn't have that pompous attitude after the game like Doc Rivers used to have, where how dare you question the great Doc Rivers. So this is a fun team to watch. So turn your focus back to the Sixers, man, because unfortunately, the way it's looking, we probably got 2 weeks left of Eagles football. 2 weeks. This season flew by. And if things go the way they've been going, we're getting 2 more games, guys. No more home games for the Eagles, most likely. So 2 more games. So we got to do something. It's going to be a long offseason. So let's get behind our Sixers and let's get behind our Philadelphia Flyers. I know Wine Niners Wine in the house is excited about the Flyers. This is a team that coming into the year we all thought was going to be just as bad as some of those process years the Sixers had. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year for the Philadelphia Flyers. They were supposed to be one of the worst teams in the NHL. And they are anything but one of the worst teams in the NFL. Excuse me, NHL. Sitting at number 3 in the Metropolitan Division. A win tonight, they would leap into number 2 in the Metro. They're 19-12-5 on the season. They've been playing really good hockey, one of the hottest teams in the NHL since mid-November. You talk about well-coached. Tortorella has these guys playing really hard. Really hard. And I say it almost every time I talk about the Flyers. Tortorella with the quote of the year to describe this Flyers team. We got balls. Is there a better description for a Philadelphia team than we got balls? And that's how Tortorella described his Philadelphia Flyers. And if you guys are hockey fans, it's time to turn back your attention to South Philadelphia because this Flyers team is playing really hard. Really good hockey. So like I said, guys, it's going to be a long offseason for the Eagles. So let's turn our focus to 2 teams that maybe can give us a little playoff run. I'm praying to God for playoff hockey back in South Philadelphia. This team, they don't have a lot of superstars, the Flyers. But they're playing as a team, and they play hard, and they play good hockey, and they leave it all out on the ice, and they are fun to watch. So turn your focus back to the Fly guys. Turn your focus back to the Sixers, because unfortunately, we probably only have 2 weeks left with this Philadelphia Eagles team. Maybe 3 weeks. Maybe 3 weeks, and let's talk about it. Because you look at the Philadelphia Eagles now, unless the Dallas Cowboys collapse against the Washington Commanders in Washington, where I think they are a 12-point favorite. Let me look that up. But I think the Cowboys are favored by 12. Let's see. I'm going on now to look at the spread on that game. 13-point favorite. So unless the Cowboys lay an egg in Washington as 13-point favorites, they will win the NFC East. The Eagles no longer control their own destiny, thanks to Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals. So most likely your Philadelphia Eagles, regardless of what they do the last game of the year at MetLife Stadium in North Jersey against Tyrod Taylor and the New York Giants, regardless of what happens there, your Philadelphia Eagles are probably the 5 seed. And in that situation, they will be on the road to open up the playoffs. Now, they're going to catch a little bit of a break because the Philadelphia Eagles will play the winner of the NFC South. And it looks like the winner of the NFC South will be the Tampa Bay Bucks, because all the Tampa Bay Bucks have to do this weekend is beat the 2-14 Carolina Panthers, whose owner is throwing things at people in the crowd. That organization is a disaster. We think we have things bad in Philadelphia. Carolina Panthers are a disaster. And you got the Tampa Bay Bucks are favored in that game by 5 against the Carolina Panthers. So if the Bucks win that game, the Philadelphia Eagles would open up the playoffs on the road in Tampa. And I see Steve Rufo in the chat saying that the Bucks will destroy us. Now, you would think, as bad as this Eagles team is playing, that they would still be favorites against the Bucks. I know that sounds crazy, that the Philadelphia Eagles would be a favorite in any game the way they're playing. But I still think that they would probably be favorites in that game, maybe a 2-point favorite on the road in Tampa Bay. But I agree with you guys. I don't have any confidence that this Philadelphia Eagles team can beat anybody right now. The Tampa Bay Bucks and Baker Mayfield, I have no confidence that this Eagles defense is going to be able to shut them down. Who's going to stop Mike Evans? Who's going to stop their running back, Rachaad White? This Philadelphia Eagles defense can't stop anybody. After you just let the 24th ranked offense, the Arizona Cardinals, put up 450 yards, over 200 rushing yards, how could we have confidence that this Eagles defense can stop anybody? So most likely the Eagles will be the 5 seed. They'll be on the road in Tampa. They could win that game. I don't have faith that they will, but they could win that game. So then what happens? Well, the Philadelphia Eagles as the 5 seed, unless the Cowboys or the Detroit Lions get upset in the wild card round, the Philadelphia Eagles' prize for beating the Tampa Bay Bucks in the wild card would be to go on the road to Santa Clara to play the San Francisco 49ers coming off of a bye. Anybody excited for that one? Anyone excited to see the Philadelphia Eagles go into Santa Clara and watch this defense get embarrassed? Because that's what's going to happen. And I know there's still Eagles fans that bleed green and no matter what are never going to stop believing. I wish I could be that way, guys. I wish I could be that way. But I see Marcus Craig in the chat saying, Bill, this team is broken. We are one and done. And unfortunately, that's the way it looks. That is really the way this looks. Because you have a Philadelphia Eagles team that seems lost. And I know a lot of people are talking about, has Nick Sirianni lost the locker room? Is the locker room fractured? And to me, when you take a step back and we look now at this entire season, there's a lot of things that are surprising. How bad the defense is, how much the offense looks out of sync. But for me, the most surprising thing are the cracks in the foundation of the culture. Because the one thing that I always said, and everyone always said about Nick Sirianni, was how strong of a culture he built in Philadelphia. And you look at this Eagles team and the veteran leadership they had coming into this season with guys like Jason Kelce and Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox and Lane Johnson and Jalen Hurts. Even though Hurts isn't a veteran, he's a leader on that team. and you looked at this team and you looked at the culture and you thought that was the one thing that they could always hang their hat on. And when they were winning games early, even though it didn't look pretty, we all started putting the moniker on this team. They find ways to win. It's the culture. It's the leadership. But now you're seeing cracks in that foundation. And that is the part that I have the most issue with this season, is what the hell is going on with the culture? What the hell is going on with the locker room? Because these are problems that can persist into the offseason, into next season. And that's what needs to be figured out. I'm already writing off this season. I know that's going to get a lot of fans angry. A lot of you agree with me, but I'm writing this season off. And I see RJ Ramirez saying, love you, Bill, but unless this defense does a complete 180, the season's over. And they're not doing a 180. What we're seeing from this defense isn't only 1 or 2 games. You're going on 16 games now that this defense has been one of the worst in the NFL. They've been bad against the pass all season. They've been bad on third down all season. They've been bad in the red zone all season. And the one thing they did well to start the season, which was stop the run, they've been terrible in the last 7. Listen to this stat. And if you guys don't already follow me on Instagram, at Legal Hands to the Face, head on over. I just posted a video about this. If you're here on TikTok, I just posted a video about this. The first 9 games of the year, the Philadelphia Eagles had the number 1 rushing defense in the entire NFL. They had only let one team through 9 games rush for over 100 yards, and it was the Washington Commanders in an overtime game. They were giving up an average of 66 yards per game. Their run defense was tremendous to start the season. So as bad as everything else was on the defense, we kept coming back to the fact, well, at least they can stop the run. They're number 1 against the run. Nobody runs on the Philadelphia Eagles. The last 7 games now, after starting the year, only let one team go over 100 yards, averaging 66 yards against. In the last 7 games, they've let every single team rush for over 100 yards, every one of them. They're giving up on average in the last 7 games over 150 rushing yards a game. They went from 66 yards a game in the first 9 to over 150 yards in the last 7. What the hell happened? And I see Wine Niners Wine saying, Patricia sucks, put Desai back in. Now, the one thing, Wine Niners Wine, because I had some people already comment on my Instagram video about this saying it's Patricia. The problem is this started happening long before Matt Patricia became the defensive coordinator. This started happening against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs game was when we started to see cracks in that run defense. The Chiefs put up 168 yards rushing. Pacheco went off in that game. They even got their wide receivers involved a little bit in the running game. Mahomes had 38 yards rushing. And then you look at the Buffalo Bills game, Josh Allen went off. Teams are doing this in different ways. They have their running backs running against you. They have their quarterbacks running against you. They're getting their wide receivers involved because you can't stop the run. You can't tackle. Look at what Deebo Samuel did to you and the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers only put up 146 yards rushing because that game was over. This defense can't do anything. And we talked about it yesterday on the show. I talked about it last night on my Legal Hands to the Face show. I blame Howie Roseman for what we see on that defense. And I know that gets a lot of people angry, and I don't understand why. I have people coming after me on social media saying, Howie Roseman's the best general manager in the NFL. How dare you question Howie Roseman? I do think Howie Roseman's a good GM. And I give Howie Roseman a lot of praise when he deserves it. But I don't understand how we could look at this team objectively and not see what the problems are on the defensive side of the football. It is a lack of personnel at key positions because Howie Roseman ignored those positions. He ignored linebacker. He ignored safety. He tried to fix those positions by dumpster diving for guys that no one else wanted in the NFL. There was a reason why Zach Cunningham was available in training camp. There was a reason why Nicholas Morrow, you were able to cut him and then put him on your practice squad and nobody signed him. There's a reason why the Indianapolis Colts cut Shaq Leonard. There's a reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers let Terrell Edmonds out the door, even though he started for them last year, and you were able to sign him on a one-year cheap deal. There's a reason why you were able to get Justin Evans, because he's been hurt his entire career. And what happened this year? He's already on IR. There's a reason why these guys were available on cheap deals. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing that Howie Roseman couldn't sign better linebackers and safeties because there's only so much money to go around. It wouldn't have cost a lot of money to bring back guys like TJ Edwards and Marcus Epps. He chose to put his money elsewhere. And I've had some people coming at me saying, who could have ever expected that James Bradbury was going to drop off the way he did? But the problem is, guys, it's not on us as fans and analysts to decide where to put the money. That's on Howie Roseman. So when he puts his money into guys that have dropped off significantly, when he makes the decision to pay two 30-year-old corners what he's paid them and now lock them in for 2 more years with James Bradbury. Bradbury has a $17 million dead cap hit if you move on from him next year. So I don't understand why people are coming at me. How dare you blame Howie Roseman? When you look at that defense objectively, there is no denying that they lack personnel. You look at the defensive tackle position. As good as they were to start the season, I have some serious questions about Jordan Davis. This was your first-round pick last year, guys. He should be dominating at defensive tackle. You took him in the first round. 13th overall, they took Jordan Davis. Now, I still have high hopes for Jalen Carter, but he's hit a rookie wall. There's no denying it. But you look at that defensive line, and let's look at our edge rushers. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. The edge was supposed to be the strength of this team, was supposed to be so deep on this team. Outside of Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, you have nobody. And you look at Josh Sweat, you talk about hitting a wall. This guy hit a wall. He's now played a career high in snaps already, and we're not even to the end of the season. And he's blowing away his career high. Last year, Josh Sweat played 587 snaps. He's already at 816 because they have no one else on the edge. Nolan Smith isn't giving you anything. And I know people were mad. Oh, they got to play Nolan Smith more. They got to play him more. They've tried. It's only his rookie season. I'm not writing him off as a player, but he's not giving you anything this year. Howie Roseman made the decision to bring back Derek Barnett, who's no longer on this team. So I still don't understand how people won't criticize Howie Roseman for the defense that was built. You ignored 2 key positions. You put your money in 30-year-old corners. You came back with a defensive line that lacks depth on the edge. And we talked about this yesterday. The reason they're in this predicament is because if you look at the last 4 drafts, not this year, these guys are rookies, but the last 4 drafts before this season, and Howie Roseman has swung and missed way too often on the defensive side of the football. And in today's NFL, with the salary cap the way it is, if you don't have young players contributing on rookie contracts that last 4 or 5 years, you cannot compete in the salary cap era. And that defense lacks young talent. Not talking about the rookies. I do have high hopes. I think maybe Howie Roseman finally hit on some defensive players with Sidney Brown and Kelee Ringo and Jalen Carter. But when you have Super Bowl aspirations, you can't expect that many rookies to contribute to your team. We can't expect Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Kelee Ringo, Sidney Brown, Maro Ajomo, all these rookies to carry this defense to a Super Bowl. And the reason they're in this predicament is because he ignored those positions at linebacker and safety, and he struck out 4 years in a row drafting defensive talent. That's the reality. I give Roseman credit. When he deserves it, I give him credit. But we can't sit up here and not criticize him when he deserves to be criticized. And we talked about it. Defense, in my opinion, is personnel. I said it before they fired Sean Desai that I didn't care who the defensive coordinator was. And now they make a desperate change from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia, and you're seeing the exact same thing. And now people want Patricia fired. Come on. How many times are we going to blame the damn coach on the defensive side of the football? It's the personnel. We want to just Sean Desai fired. They fire him. They bring in Matt Patricia. Now we want Patricia fired. When are we going to accept the reality that it's the personnel that Howie Roseman put on the defensive side of the football? Gets me all pissed off, man. How a team with Super Bowl aspirations could come in to this season with the personnel that they have. And then Howie Roseman gets desperate and makes a trade for Kevin Byard. He's an upgrade from Terrell Edmonds and Justin Evans, but the guy clearly isn't the same guy he was when he was an All-Pro in Tennessee. They bring in Shaq Leonard. We all had hopes, and I said it on this show. I hope he can be some semblance of what he was. I didn't expect him to be. We knew there was a reason the Colts moved on, and the Colts didn't trade him. The Colts didn't get anything back for Shaq Leonard. They just simply cut him. They still were on the hook for his full contract, and they cut him in the middle of a playoff race. There was a reason why they did that. He's not the same guy either. And then Roseman had to make other desperate moves earlier in the season. Zach Cunningham, Miles Jack, Bradley Roby. Desperation. Because he realized he ignored 2 key positions. And that's on Roseman. Now, I will give Howie Roseman credit when he deserves credit. The offense he doesn't lack personnel at all. But listen, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, who usually can provide some positivity for us. I don't know how he's going to do that today, but I'm praying. Give me something, Dave, to bring back some positivity in 2024. So stay tuned, guys. Hit that like button. We'll be right back with Dave Spadaro.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their Fantasy Pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Philly Sports Power Hour with Bill Colarulo. I appreciate all of you guys spending this hour with me talking Philadelphia sports. It's a great hour for me. I hope it's a great hour for you. Things haven't been great, though, for us Eagles fans over the last couple of weeks, and I'm hoping to get some positivity from our Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro, who joins the show like he does every Tuesday. What's going on, Dave?
Bill, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everyone out there.
Happy New Year, my man. Did you have a good New Year's Eve other than the Eagles game?
How was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Yeah, right?
But I'm thankful for everything, so I try to keep it in perspective. But losing to the Cardinals was quite a damper on not only that evening, but every moment since then, and really on the season. It was just incomprehensible that happened, and just with so much at stake and such an opportunity in front of them for this football team to go out there and lose to the Cardinals, who I give credit to for sure, NFL players, but you don't go losing to 3-12 teams. So yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah, it was tough, especially.
But if you want to hear, Bill, my optimism, I never give up, and as long as you've got a heartbeat, you're still alive. And I just keep thinking that at some point this team is going to flip that switch, and there's really no evidence to suggest that's going to happen per se. Glimpses here and there. I'm relying on a veteran team, a lot of leadership, and an understanding that there's just no more leeway, and they put themselves in a really tough spot, potentially going on the road when the playoffs begin, which may be a good thing for this football team. And so that's my hope, that this team will kind of just get jolted into the reality of we have no more margin for error. It is win or the season is over.
And you talk about margin for error, and that's what was so frustrating about New Year's Eve, because the Cowboys and the Lions gave us a gift on Saturday night. The end of that game, the way it played out, was perfect scenario for the Eagles, we thought, because when the Cowboys win that game and beat the Lions, all the Eagles had to do was beat the Cardinals and the Giants, and they are the 2 seed. But now, like you mentioned, most likely this Eagles team will be a 5 seed and have to open up on the road against the NFC South champ.
Yeah.
But before we look...
Before that, it's like you're sitting there as an Eagles fan and you're not rooting for the Cowboys to win because they look like crap and Detroit lost the game. I mean, officials helped. But to then, as an Eagles fan, kind of like go, hey, the best thing for this football team is that the Dallas Cowboys win. So you got to stomach and muscle through that for 3.5 hours. Listening to Troy Aikman, the disgusting Jimmy Johnson going on at halftime. I turned it on immediately. I turned it off immediately and flipped back to see if the halftime was over and heard one word of Jimmy Johnson screaming into the microphone before I vomited it in my mouth and then turned the channel again. And then to sit through that and then go, okay, well, hey, at least, Detroit lost. And then for what happened Sunday to happen, it's like, man, is the NFC, this curse of the NFC repeating? It's so I don't know. Do we take it seriously enough? Do we realize that it is possibly like a real curse that no team has repeated since 2003, 2004? I mean, it is right there for the Philadelphia Eagles, and now it's not.
It's amazing. It really is amazing that no team has repeated, especially this year after starting 10-1 and thinking it was a sure thing that they were going to win the NFC East. But listen, Dave, you work for the Eagles. You're there. You're at the NovaCare complex, and this may be a tough question for you to answer, but a lot of fans are starting to question whether or not this locker room is fractured, whether or not Nick Sirianni has lost the team. You're close to the team. What can you tell us about the feel of that team? Obviously, people aren't happy that they are losing, but is this team still together?
So how do you judge that? You judge that by everybody shows up on time. Everybody makes it to the meetings. Everybody participates in the meetings. There seems to be good chemistry in the locker room, good communication between the coaching staff and the players. They go through the practices and seem pleased with the practices. So it's really hard for me to measure. I've always said to you guys that it doesn't change in the building, and it really doesn't change in the building. You don't walk around moping. First of all, you're in the NFL. You always look to the next challenge, the next moment. You excel all the time. So it's hard for me to say that. I don't think it's something that you judge, Bill, during the course of the week. I think you look at it on game days, and there's clearly something that is not connecting. Nick's core values begin with connect. And this team is, 9 leads, and they've lost 3 of them. How do you explain that lack of ability to put teams away? I can't explain that. How do you explain a defense that, and really both sides of the line of scrimmage? I mean, I'll go back to this. Is it a connection or a chemistry thing, or that this team was so physical and won at the line of scrimmage in such dominating fashion in 2021, 2022? They don't seem to do that. When I watch, do you see a team that is dominant physically at the line of scrimmage? So I can't explain where that is, what's happened there. But look, I mean, I think everything is on the table as far as what's gone wrong with this team. It's not I'm not in a position to observe with accuracy. It seems fine to me on a day-to-day basis. And it really never changes win or lose. But then you look at the game, and it's clearly a team that is not playing at a high level that it expects to play at, that we all expect the Philadelphia Eagles to play at.
And you mentioned dominating on the line of scrimmage last year, the year before. And one of the things I was talking about before you joined the show was this run defense. Because if you look at the Eagles' rushing defense, they were great to start the season. First 9 games of the year, only one team ran for over 100 yards. It was an overtime game against the Commanders. They were only giving up 66 yards a game. And now you look at the last 7, every team's had over 100 yards, and they're giving up over 150 a game. What's going on with that run defense?
Yeah, I mean, they're not getting the job done. And that's every level of the defense. I mean, I think we've talked about this. The defense, to me, this season, and really kind of the model that they have here, and that a lot of teams have, is you win at the defensive line, and then you cover. And so where do you invest? When you look at like where you're investing your money, your salary cap dollars, you're investing it in the defensive line. You're investing it at the cornerback position. And, the Eagles are not getting the play there. They're not getting a play anywhere on defense. I can't defend a defense that gave up 4 straight touchdowns in the second half to the Arizona Cardinals. No offense to the Cardinals, but there's not a lot of, that's not a highly rated offense. And this defense has been struggling for weeks and weeks and weeks. So yeah, I don't see much of the Eagles getting, success there. I don't know what to say, Bill, because they haven't been able to demonstrate that they're more physical, or that they're getting stops, or that they're, they're not taking the football away. They're not getting quarterback sacks. They're not getting the things that are really important to this defense. And it is really frustrating to see and puzzling to me, because I expected a lot more from the defense. Am I hosting the show now by myself, Bill?
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up, and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back into the Philly Sports Power Hour. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I get kicked out.
Yeah, it's everything. It's happening to everybody. It's a freaky year, Bill. It's freaky, man.
Well, I look out the window, and I see Howie Roseman with hedge clippers right near my internet connection. I don't think he liked that I was I'm only kidding, Dave. I'm only kidding. But, yeah, I don't know what happened. Guys. Apologize for that. Dave Spadaro was ready to host the Philly Sports Power Hour.
That's right.
But we were talking about this run defense. We were talking about some different things.
Just run defense. It's unexplainable what's happened. Maybe when Zach Cunningham comes back, hopefully he comes back this week, you get better there. But it's been really, really shocking to see that the Eagles have been getting gashed like this.
And let's talk a little bit about this coming week because it's hard. I know a lot of Eagles fans, including myself, are ready to write this season off, but it's not over yet. They do have a playoff game guaranteed. So what do you do this weekend? Nick Sirianni was asked about, do you consider resting starters against the Giants? Because they can't be worse than a 5 seed. They can jump to the 2 seed if the Cowboys lose, which is unlikely against the Commanders. But both games are at the same time, 4:25 on Sunday. What do you think happens this weekend with the starters?
I think the Eagles have to work on things, Bill, and I think that Nick will make the decision to play the starters. Now, certainly you keep your eye on what's happening with Dallas and Washington, and maybe you give some key guys a rest. But, the way that there's only a 53-man roster, you can call up a couple of players from the practice squad. It doesn't really give you a chance to have 22 starters sit. And so I think we'll see the starters out there, and I think the Eagles need to work on things and get better at things and build some confidence here and try to finish the regular season strong, get win number 12, and go to Tampa Bay or New Orleans and feeling like there's some momentum generated.
Yeah, if this Eagles team was firing on all cylinders, I would say, hey, rest the starters. But this team needs to fix some things. Nick Sirianni's addressed that as well. They need to get things fixed fast. So I think you try to fix that the best you can by playing, not resting these guys. And you just mentioned the Tampa Bay Bucks or the New Orleans Saints. In your opinion, who does this team match up better with? It's hard because they've been getting dominated the last few weeks, especially on the ground. But who do you think they match up better against, the Bucks or the Saints?
Well, I would say Tampa Bay, given the performance the Eagles had in Tampa earlier this season and how dominant that was, and I just feel like Baker Mayfield is somebody you can kind of get up in his face a little bit more than Derek Carr. The Saints defense is really matched up with Jalen Hurts well. At least, actually, that's not true. They ran really well. The Saints defense, I'm thinking of last year's game, but that was against Gardner Minshew. Jalen's actually run the ball very well against the Saints. I just think the Saints with their wide receivers are a bit more dangerous. I think Kamara is a bit of a better running back than what Tampa has. I think the Dome is a bit more foreboding than Tampa. Tampa always has a ton of Eagles fans. So I think I would, but then the other part is it's hard to beat a team twice in a season. So, I guess at the end of the day, I don't really give a crap. I believe that if the Eagles play, look, I still believe that the Eagles have it in them to be a really good football team, a great football team. Maybe I'm just a midnight Kelly Green optimist, but I still believe that. And so at the end of the day, I don't give a crap who we play. Whether it's Tampa Bay or New Orleans, go on the road, be angry, us against the world, do whatever you have to do, play inspired football, hope that the Rams beat the Lions, right? And then I don't know what happens after that. Then the Eagles would go to Dallas, I guess. It would be Dallas or San Fran next round. So, or maybe I don't even know how it works out at the top, but just go there and play great football. I think they match up fine against both teams, but I think New Orleans has a bit more of a physical defense and a bit more firepower on offense.
And you look at that first matchup, the one thing the Eagles did really well against the Bucs was run the football, put up over 200 yards rushing. And that was the second week in a row. They put up 259 against the Vikings. So
they ran at the end of the game. I think it was an 8.5 minute drive to run the clock down to nothing, right? Like, where's that been?
Yeah, that's probably their most dominant win when we look back. Either
it was
that
one,
or
it was that one, the Rams, that one, and to a degree the Dolphins, given the quality of team that the Dolphins are.
So we will see, Dave. We will see. I'm hoping you're right. Maybe there's a miracle in there. The one thing that gives me a little hope, I don't have a lot of hope, Dave, but a little hope is if you remember back to the year the New York Giants went on their run with Tom Coughlin and beat the perfect Patriots in the Super Bowl. There was a lot of chatter about firing Tom Coughlin that season. They were 9-7. They weren't playing very well, and they just caught a hot streak. So anything's possible.
Yeah. Always remember that it's not on the game day. It's not necessarily the best team that wins, but it is the best team that day that wins. And this team still has a very high upside. And I believe that when Slay comes back, and hopefully, I don't know anything about Avante's injury, but hopefully he's okay. I haven't even read anything this morning. I haven't heard anything. I just feel like you get to the playoffs, the whole mindset changes. But first, Bill, let's beat the Giants. Let's finish 12-5, and hopefully, Washington Commanders go.
It's amazing. You just said, let's be 12-5. The feeling that we have right now on a potential 12-win team. It's just been that kind of year. A very interesting year, man, for sure.
Yep.
So, Dave, I appreciate you joining the show, man. I know it's not easy when things are this bleak, but you do a good job.
Man. Part of the business. Look, the team expects to be criticized. That's just the team deserves it. It's been a really tough last month plus here, and but there's time. There's not time. There's not a lot of time. The Eagles have to turn it around right now. You got to turn it around right now. Got to play urgent football. So, Bill, I finish with this. Happy New Year to everyone, and go Birds!
Appreciate you, Dave. Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year.
Xander, you could let him out. Let him out.
Let me out of here.
So that's our Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro, who always joins the show. And we know Dave's going to try to keep it positive. Yes, Dave works for the Eagles, but hey, listen, sometimes we need that positivity. I have zero positive when it comes to this team right now. Zero positivity. And we talked about it before Dave joined the show. My problems lie with the personnel on the defensive side of the football and the coaching on the offensive side of the football. Right before we brought on Dave, I was going on and on about the personnel on the defense and how much I blame Howie Roseman for what we're seeing on the defense. But then when you look at the flip side and you look at the offense, you have to give Howie Roseman credit for the roster he built on offense. I would put that offense up against any offense in the league on paper. If you look at the roster on offense, there is no reason why that offense isn't dominating games from start to finish with all of the firepower they have on offense. And as many injuries as they've had on the defensive side of the football, it's been pretty consistent on offense. Yeah, you've had Goddard out a couple of games. You had Cam Jurgens out a couple of games. Landon Dickerson missed a game. But really, it's been pretty consistent on the offensive side of the football. But the thing that hasn't been consistent has been the coaching and the play calling and the play designs and the schemes. And we talked about this at length yesterday, the situational awareness by the offense. And they need to figure that out really quickly. And I don't know if they can. I'm not sure that Brian Johnson, I gave him the benefit of the doubt in the beginning of the season. I kept saying when people were complaining about Brian Johnson, I kept saying, give him a chance. He's never called plays in the NFL before. He's going to figure this out. He's going to figure it out. Well, now we're sitting here 16 games into the season, 17 weeks into the season, And it doesn't look like Brian Johnson's figured it out. It doesn't look like Nick Sirianni has figured it out on the offensive side of the football. And you look at that Arizona Cardinals game, the offense didn't play badly the whole game. And then everything that we've complained about with this offense, with the bad situational awareness, with the bad play calling, reared its ugly head at the most important time of the game, under 5 minutes, 28-28, ball on the 20-yard line. You get a holding penalty on Jordan Mailata. Now you have a 1st and 20. And then Brian Johnson calls designed quarterback run, no pass option built in. Designed quarterback run, no pass option built in. And then a screen pass to your backup running back on 3rd and 16. What the hell are you doing? That's why we've been so frustrated. Because even though the final offensive numbers sometimes look good and Jalen throws for 300 yards or they put up a lot of points, if you've watched the games, something's off. And when you have guys like A.J. Brown refusing to talk to the media, there's something off with that offense. And it starts with Nick Sirianni. And it flows down to Brian Johnson. And I said this yesterday, I don't blame Jalen Hurts. Yes, Jalen Hurts needs to play better. Yes, he cannot have the amount of turnovers that he's had this season. But what I see is a guy who has zero trust in the offensive game plans and the play calling. So I don't think you can judge Jalen Hurts when he has an offensive coaching staff that at times looks absolutely clueless. But guys, like we end every Philly Sports Power Hour with a little today in sports history, we're going to do a little birthday today. January 2nd, 1969 was the birthday of the late Tommy Morrison, who a lot of us remember as Tommy Gunn from Rocky V. Tommy Morrison, Tommy the Machine Gun. Yo, Tommy! I didn't hear no bell. Rocky V kind of sucked, but there were some good scenes in that. Always some good scenes, always some good quotes. But that one may have been the worst one out of all of them. Was Rocky V the worst Rocky out of all the Rockies? I think it probably was. Probably the worst one. But Tommy Machine Gun, Tommy Morrison, was born January 2nd, 1969. Unfortunately died September 1st, 2013 of AIDS, which is crazy. But was a good fighter. 52 fights, 48 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. But unfortunately, his career was sidelined after he tested positive for HIV. But Tommy the Machine Gun was born January 2nd, 1969. Guys, appreciate all of you being here. Check out the Fly Guys tonight, 9 o'clock in Edmonton. Connor McDavid for the Edmonton Oilers. That team, they're fun to watch too. So it should be a good game, 9 o'clock, Flyers at Oilers. And then you also have the Sixers with the Chicago Bulls. Hopefully Joel Embiid plays and they can get this rematch and win the second of a home and home. So we will see. Smash that like button for me, guys. I will see all of you tomorrow, 10 a.m. here on the Power Hour. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms. We're posting a lot of content about our Eagles. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. And as always, go Birds.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.